Okay, perfect. So first of all, a massive welcome to anyone who is new to training with us and who's going into next week. And for anyone who's existing, again, a massive welcome. What we're going to be covering in this is we're going to be covering a combination of the transition from training outdoors back to Claregate and all the extra bits that we've had to put in place, and talk through some of the sort of things that are going to be slightly different. And then for those who are new to joining us, we'll go through everything to bring you all up to speed on exactly sort of what you need to know. And then we will go through an additional Q&A at this. There will be questions throughout. But what I would like you to do is, if you have a look on the screen, depending on whether you're on a phone or a laptop or a tablet or whatever it may be, okay, if you sort of float around on there, you'll see this little chat box. What I would like you to do is, if you just put any questions into there, then when we get to prominent pauses in the actual webinar itself, then I'll go through and I'll answer the questions for that point. And then, like I said, at the very end, once we've covered everything, we'll go through general Q&A, open up microphones if we need to, and take it out of this screen and cover all of the points. And hopefully there should be no further questions. But again, if you do have any questions that don't pop up in your head, but you might have them later on leading up to next week, then by all means, feel free to ask, because that's what we're here for, okay? So I hope that gives everyone a good steer for now. So let's dive in. All right, so this is what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to be covering quite a few things. All right, so first of all, like I said before, we've gone through the introduction, okay, so basically how this is going to work. And the next thing we're going to start discussing is things like where it actually is, because people actually tend to get a little bit lost. We're going to go through the support process. So the support process you can expect, as in your expectations from us, and then our expectations of you in return, so you know exactly where the boundaries are, how you can get the best help, where you can get help from, etc. Next, we'll cover through the COVID policy itself, which is an important thing, and it is mandatory that we talk through this. And I'll talk a little bit more about policies, etc., where you can see further details on this, both in person and also online as well, so you can have a peruse if you're that way inclined. Once we've done that, we're then going to primarily talk through the A8 program. Okay, so we just call it the A8, but the Amazing Innate program, the 8-week transformation program, the only one with the £1,000 prize. And we'll talk about the very specific element of that as well. Next, we'll talk about all the finer details on things like how to use TeamUp correctly and hopefully clear up any confusion with that. We'll also talk about how Trainerize works. So now at this point, everyone should be on Trainerize and how we use it to aid you with your nutrition, give you your general support, and also set you individual and specific goals to yourself to further tailor things down a little bit more, despite the fact you're training in a small group PT session. Okay, then just before we finish, okay, what I'll talk through is the disruptions that we're going to be having throughout August, and how they're potentially going to affect things. But by and large, the program will go exactly the same as before. There may just be some slight differences and variations, which I'll talk through when we get to that, okay? So like I said before, we'll have a prominent point where we'll be answering any questions during this, but until then, feel free to just drop them in the chat box and I'll open them up when we get to that point. I'll answer the questions up to there. Then what I will do is I will go through the rest of it, and then when we get to the Q&A, I'll answer any questions that have been asked up till then and any further questions that might come out of that. So first of all, as far as where it's actually, where you actually need to go, okay, it's the Claregate Centre, okay, it's within Aldersley Stadium and Aldersley Road, and then the postcode is WV6 9NW, all right? So you'll also be able to find this information on TeamUp. So pretty much everyone now, or I believe everyone should have gone onto the TeamUp app and looked and started booking sessions, so you will see the address there. Now, despite there being signposts and despite the postcode, etc., being on there, the only thing you really need to pay attention to is the fact that the whole complex is free parking. Okay, so you will see in the center where there's this little sign here. I'm not sure if you can see my pointer. Okay, but here in this area here, there is a huge parking area. There's also one here next to WV Active. Okay, but where we actually are, which is here, okay, it's a first turn in as you come into the one-way system. There's a whole car park purely dedicated for our building that we use, okay? So that's the primary car parking space. However, sometimes when we do the outdoor training, we might cone off areas so that we have a bit of hard standing to train on, as well as using the grass as well, okay? So if it is coned off in certain parts and you can't park there, then like I said, you can park on the whole rest of the complex and then just come up and meet us there, all right? And this is where we're going to be performing all of the indoor and outdoor training sessions. So every bit of training will be conducted here, okay? So whereas everyone throughout this month who was training with us was training at Bantock and West Park, now it's all going to be at Claregate. So once you've been there, which we'll talk about that just in a second, you'll know where you need to go, and you'll know that that's the only place that we need to go to conduct the training aspect itself, okay? So next, so we'll talk through the support side of things, and this is hugely important. And the reason why this is important is because while we want to give you as much support as we physically can, you have to understand that there are boundaries, and there are boundaries in the sense that things have to go down the correct channels, and they have to be done in the correct way in order for you to get the best out of us and for us to deliver you the best information. Okay, so the main means of support that you have is everyone should be on Trainerize, and we'll talk through that a little bit more. And Trainerize is where you will be in contact with your coach, so either myself or Bonnie, okay? And that's where you can ask all your personal individual questions and talk through anything related to your nutrition. Maybe you might have a little niggle coming on or whatever it may be, okay? You can go through there and ask us all the questions that you want, okay? Please be aware that obviously we're not glued to our phones or laptops all of the time, so there will be an element of delay, and we'll talk about the support hours bit in just a sec, all right? But you'll already see them on the screen. The next one is a one that we'll be using quite a lot, okay, is the Facebook group. So anything related to the course that everyone should know about, or just training as a whole, or any disruptions, or if you just want to just generally chat, okay, by all means, feel free to do that. You could be talking about literally anything, like maybe you want to, you know, get recommendations for trainers. Maybe you want to find out where's a good place to go if you want to eat on the weekend, what recommendations, anything, okay? If you're self-employed and you want to promote your business a little bit, don't go crazy, but you can put your business in there. You know, tell people that might be of benefit to the service that you provide, all right? So the community Facebook group is there for your community, okay? So get involved when we post in things like weekly challenges, etc. Don't be afraid, even if you're not hitting the challenge for that day, post in and we'll give you that encouragement. We'll help you and steer you on the best that we possibly can. And as well, if you've not already seen already, the community timetables in there, so the schedule of when posts go up for things like if you need some serious questions answered, or you just want to stay on track, or you want to just celebrate any achievements that you've made, okay, don't hold them back. The more you share, the more people are going to essentially give you that love, and you're going to feel like your journey is part of the community, because at the end of the day, okay, you're part of a community. You're not here by yourself. Okay, you're part of essentially the 3P family, right? And everyone is hand selected who comes into the program. It's not a case of go online, click a button, brilliant, you're a member. Okay, so everyone who comes in, we know are nice people who are dedicated, who want to get results. Okay, so with that in mind, chat and get to know each other. Some of you will never have met each other beforehand. Some of you may know each other from the past, or you might know each other and not realize that you're on the same program. Okay, so get comfortable with each other and chat. Get super comfortable, okay? That group is your group as well. And then finally, for anything official, so any official questions related to things like billing or whatever it may be, please send them through the email address on the screen there. So it's customer care, all one word, at 3pwolverhampton.co.uk. Okay, and the reason why is because if you have any concerns with something like that, we need to have an official track record. It's no good sending a text to the phone that we had a chat on originally. We can't keep a record of that, and we'll talk through bookings and cancelling of sessions and things like that as well from an individual perspective, okay? But general official questions or queries or points, please, or even complaints, okay, please put them through that email address there, and that'll give us the best record for everything, okay? And then finally is support hours, okay? So both myself and Bonnie, we're both parents, okay? We're not together. We just happen to be in the video this time, but we're both parents, okay? We're both busy people. And while we want to give you the best possible support as well, just like a lot of you are parents yourselves, we do have to have a switch off point. If we're answering questions at 10 o'clock at night, we're not serving you the best that we possibly can, okay? So please understand that between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., ask your questions. We'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Don't be shy, ask away, okay? But if it's outside of those hours, there may be a bit of a delay. On Saturday, again, support hours further reduced, okay? Again, family life, okay? So 8 a.m. till 12 p.m. And then Sundays, okay, if you have a burning question, all right, and it's an official one, again, put it through that email address there. Or I'm sure it can wait for the next day, or if you send it, we'll pick it up on the Monday. I hope everyone's all cool with that, okay? So the next part that we're going to go through now is the COVID policy itself, all right? Now, this is super important, okay? You can find out more information on this by going to the member site, okay? The first video that you'll see is the general COVID secure guidelines, okay? And what's shortly going to be uploaded into there is our COVID policy, which is in line with the building that we use, along with a copy of the risk assessments. And you can also see these in person as well. But we are doing everything that we reasonably can to keep people feeling comfortable. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are someone who, you know, thinks it's a hoax or doesn't feel like this is going to affect you. It doesn't matter what your stance is on the current situation, okay? We have to work within guidelines, because the worst case that could happen is, you know, something goes massively wrong. We end up getting shut down, okay? It's going to affect everyone. And it's important that we try and keep things as slick as we can, but still keeping it super comfortable for those who maybe have a bit more from a concerns point of view, okay? So the first one is the booking. Now, the booking thing is important because, as you'll see in other businesses, okay, they have to keep a record for 21 days. And that's where TeamUp has been used for this. We used that before anyway, but TeamUp gives us a record. So we have that 21-day record of the last time people came in the building, the last time we trained, we know who was with that group. So should someone get tested and come back as a positive, let us know. And we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, and then we can accommodate that specifically, okay? The next one, specifically when it comes to in-person training, okay, is absolutely arrive 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. If you're not quite comfortable with getting there on your first session, arrive earlier. If you need to go to a later one, then go to a later session so that you know exactly where you need to be, okay? The reason why is because in between sessions, okay, we have to have a period, okay? It's called a breathing period, where we literally, even though the place is fully ventilated, where we have to not have anyone in. So the group that will be training, they will be inside, and then the group that will be preceding them, okay, or succeeding, should I say, they will wait until you get called inside. So please don't come in and just chill and wait, okay? Please just stay in your car or just, you know, be outside, whatever you want to do, okay? And we'll call you inside. It gives us time to get around, make sure everyone's cleaned their bits and bobs of their equipment, okay? And we'll talk about equipment in a second as well. The next thing, okay, so from a clothing point of view, just wear what you're comfortable with, okay? Now, there's no mandation for wearing masks for either indoor or outdoor training, okay? Frankly, it would be deemed as unsafe, and the space that you get with the indoor training is more than what the government guideline is, okay? So it's not a 2-meter square, okay? It's a 3-meter square that everyone gets given, okay? So plenty of room, and within the training space itself, okay, everyone will be given all equipment where necessary, okay? So you won't be sharing equipment indoors, okay? But we'll talk about outdoors and the sweat stuff later, okay? And do whatever you feel comfortable with. You don't feel, if you feel like you want to wear something that perhaps someone isn't wearing, okay, you wear whatever you want to do, okay? But just to reiterate, masks are not required for both indoor or outdoor training. The next one's sanitization. So as I said before, so equipment-wise, okay, we'll go through and make sure everything's cleaned. You'll also be given the necessary tools to clean down your little bits that you're using so that it's all good for the next person as well. And like I said, for indoor training aspects of things, you will be given the equipment that you need for that session, and that's your equipment for that time that you're with us, okay? So you're not going to be sharing equipment. When it comes to outdoor training, okay, this is where the gloves come in. So you haven't got some already, please go ahead and get some, all right? All you need is a full finger glove. Ideally something with a little bit of grip, but you don't have to spend a fortune, okay? So it could be summer cycling gloves, for example. It could be a builder's glove with the rubber lining you might have seen put in the group, okay, something like that, as long as it's full fingered. And the reason why is because when we do the outdoor stuff, we want to keep as much normality as we can. So sometimes we'll do things like team challenges, where you might be in pairs or in little groups where you're racing against each other. Okay, it builds that little bit of competitive edge and gets people laughing and smiling and pushing a little bit harder, okay, when it comes to the sweat sessions, all right? And we will be sharing equipment a little bit, okay? So that's why the gloves are there. Now, like I mentioned before, if you're showing symptoms, okay, please just let us know. All right, we'll accommodate you the best that we can. But generally, just, you know, try not to be a hero and attend. Just let us know, okay, and we'll do our best, all right? Please don't come in if you are showing some sort of symptom and it's getting quite severe, where it could potentially impact the whole of the training environment, okay? Because that's not ideal. And then finally, should there be a local lockdown, or should there be training restrictions put in place, we will manage that accordingly. The worst case of a local lockdown being brought in, what will happen is during that period, so let's say 2 weeks, for example, we'll continue to support you through that whole thing. If that means putting on things like Zoom training sessions, we'll do that. We'll continue to help you out as much as we can with the nutrition stuff. Okay, we'll do everything up in our power to make sure during that lockdown, you continue to make progress. Okay, because I can tell you now, you do not need a multi-million-pound gym to get results. That's guaranteed. All right, we both have experience of literally training with just body weight and literally changing lives. Okay, so don't think that you need to have a whole gym to still get results. So should the worst case happen, okay, and a local lockdown occurs, we'll arguably probably support you through that more, okay, because we'll have more time on our hands. All right, so we'll just support you until you couldn't further possibly get any more support. All right. And then, so for example, let's say there's any training restrictions where indoor training cannot occur. That's absolutely fine. Okay, we'll just go outdoors. Outdoor training is fantastic. Everyone who's trained this month and the previous month beforehand in the smaller group stuff has all loved it. I've not had a single complaint. Bonnie's not had a complaint of the outdoor stuff. All right. So even though there's a bit of rain, you just deal with it. It's not a big deal. At least it's not the winter and it's not snowing and it's not icy. Okay. So that's the COVID-19 side of things. So that should clear up quite a few points. But again, any questions, drop them in and we'll go through them. Now, at this point, if there's any questions, okay, feel free to ask. And I'm going to go through the chat now. And yeah, we'll go through that. So, cool, Sugar, that's absolutely fine. So Martin, okay, so what Martin said was it might be worth emphasizing again that Claregate isn't Claregate, but in Aldersley. Yep. So like I said before, okay, the address which is on TeamUp, okay, and the address that you saw before. And if you still need the address again and you want us to send it to you personally, but will do, okay, that's the address you need to go to. Do not actually go to Claregate, okay, but it's the Claregate Centre in Aldersley, next to Aldersley Stadium, okay, so it's back here, okay, Claregate Centre, Aldersley Stadium, Aldersley Road, WV6 9NW. Cool. And now we'll carry on. Let's get to the juicy stuff. Okay, so up to now, we've covered everything, right, prior to the sexy bit, which is the actual program itself and actually getting back to training. So the purpose of the 8-week program, okay, the A8 program or the Amazing Innate program, whatever you want to call it, however you name it, that's fine. It's all about basics done well. Okay, there's no witchcraft. Right, you're not going to be sold supplements. You're not going to be told to do something that we wouldn't personally do ourselves, okay? So we will give you as much guidance as we possibly can to essentially give you the understanding that you can make fantastic progress with basic changes, okay? And the way that we're going to do this is with the program structure that you'll see on the screen, okay? So we have the Powerful Progress Workbook, which will be given next week, okay? So on your first training session, if you haven't received one, remind us and we'll give you one. We'll have a tick list to check them off, okay? And that workbook, when you see it, it'll go through everything ranging from how to actually set goals, not just thinking, oh, I want to lose X amount of weight, but why? And why is that important to you? And who does it affect if you don't achieve that? And it takes it a layer deeper so that you have an emotional connection to achieving your goal, because that's the reason why most people do not achieve their goal, is because they don't have an emotional connection. They're just saying, I want to lose X, but why do you want to do that? Or I want to achieve this. What's the purpose behind it? And the workbook is solely based around that. And as well, there's a whole day by day, week by week breakdown of everything you need to cover, okay, ranging from your daily activity to have you trained that day, have you had your 7 portions of fruit and vegetables, etc. It's all in there, so you can literally go through, pen out, tick, 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 write any notes, and then you can summarize at the end of the week, and you'll see when you get the workbook how crystal clear it is. It's as simple as I could possibly make it, and it's a really good way of reflection as well, okay? And worst case, it's just another thing you can chuck in the bin later on. Okay, but please actually use it. It's super important, okay? You'll get a lot of value out of it if you use it properly. The next one, obviously, we have the in-person training, which we're going to talk about in a second. Okay, that's the element that for yourselves going into the 8-week program, how that works is 3 small group PT sessions a week, and then a limited use of the sweat sessions based on availability. Okay, so if it's full, okay, that's it. It's full, you can go on the waiting list. That's absolutely fine. We'll talk about waiting lists a little bit more. For those who are not on the 8 program, but you want to just continue training on, then as usual, okay, it's 3 times a week as per, okay? The next one, which we're going to talk through, is Trainerize itself. Now, Trainerize is a coaching tool, okay? So what that means is, like I said before, that's where you get all of your support. That's where we handle everything like your personalized nutrition, all your individual goals. Okay, it's all handled in Trainerize. It's easy to use. Please message us through there. Any questions, any queries related to day-to-day stuff, chuck them in there. Like I mentioned before as well, okay, so all of you now should have created your logins for the member site. Okay, the member site is what we are going to use for a reference. So it could be anything related to how to take measurements, how to take pictures, how to set goals. Maybe you want a little bit more training on how to use the workbook. It's all in there, along with all the training on the basics of nutrition, the fundamentals of things like proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, supplements. So which ones you probably should get, what we recommend, based off our opinion, not medical advice, okay, and ones you should definitely avoid, okay? It's all in there, and it's a really good tool to educate yourself a little bit further. And sometimes we'll refer you directly to that, okay, because you get the best possible information from that, okay? It's all in video format, and it's easy to use. There's also all of the recipes in there, okay? So under the nutrition tab, you see all the recipes, etc. And any coaching calls are recorded, and then they'll put in the website. So should you not see them, they'll be posted in the Facebook group and also in the member site as well. So there's a record of it, so you can go back, you can listen to it while you're on your commute or whatever it is. And then finally, we'll do the weekly Q&As, okay? So for now, the weekly Q&As are going to stay at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night, but that will be subject to change, okay? And if it changes, we'll let you know in advance, and we'll accommodate it the best that we can. We understand that people can't make them. That's absolutely fine. But if you want to submit questions to have answered on there in more depth, then please feel free to do so. So the training itself. Now, I've had loads of questions. I'm sure Bonnie's had questions as well. What's the difference between what was done and what's going on now? All right. And a few people may be a little bit nervous. Okay. There's no need to be nervous. All right. Despite the fact that we're both ex-forces, right? No one's going to get dragged through mud. Okay. There might be a little bit of mud. Okay. But you'll be putting yourself in it. No one's going to get shouted and screamed at. You're not going to get forced to do something that you can't do, okay? All of the training is delivered at your level within your group, okay? So the breakdown of the two different types of session, okay, you've got the small group PT, which as it states on the screen is groups of 8 maximum, okay? It's full body training, it's progressive, and it's based on the individual's needs within a group setting. So if you struggle with a certain movement, you work at your own level within that group, okay? But the program remains the same for that group. And then as things progress, eventually we will have 3 different programs running within that group, but that's for another story, okay? And the main focus of small group PT is developing strength, movement quality, so your actual ability to move, as well as the movement itself, which is going to help with all of the above. And then finally, educate you. So should you decide not to stay on, okay, you will then be able to leave us and go to regular old gyms, okay, and not just go on cardio machines, or not just do a little bit of abs, or not just sit on a machine, but actually be able to apply something long-term and make your training exciting, which is important because it should be a positive part of your life, not a chore. Now, on the contrasting side of things, what we have is the sweat sessions. So think of them as almost like boot camp style training. So a little bit rough and ready. Okay, so it's slightly larger groups, so in groups of 12. Again, it's full body training, and it's more cardiovascular based, but it's still all abilities. So it doesn't matter whether you've never done anything boot camp style before, maybe you've never run before, whatever it may be. Okay, it's still based on everyone being able to complete it. And the basic principle is that it's constantly varying. Okay, so it's always going to be different. It's always going to be fun and exciting and challenging. Okay, sometimes you work individually, sometimes you work in pairs, sometimes you work in teams. Okay, sometimes we'll use no equipment, sometimes we'll use loads of equipment, sometimes we'll be using cardio equipment, sometimes it'll be all running. It'll be a massive mix. Okay, but the emphasis is on building endurance, which is going to help with cardiovascular health. We're also going to be doing a little bit of high intensity interval training, maybe a little bit of low intensity steady state stuff, general interval training as a whole, okay? But the main emphasis is that it should be fun, okay? So throughout the whole thing, yes, it's hard work, but you'll be smiling, okay? So get involved again with your teams when you're in teams or whatever it is, okay? And have fun throughout the whole thing, all right? Super important that you enjoy the process. Now, in order to actually win the £1,000, all right, there's not much that you need to do, okay? And I'll talk through exactly what's expected of you, okay, during this process and how we're keeping it completely fair, okay? And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But the most important thing is that you're all in this program, okay, because you want to achieve success, right? So what you need to do is starting from now, you want to commit to the process. So start going through things like learning more about nutrition. Start preparing yourself for next week. Know the training is not going to be ridiculous, but start thinking about making sure that you can actually attend. Making sure that when you're there, that you're fully focused and that your attention's on everything you need to do. And then when you're away from training, that you're more conscious about your nutrition, that you're constantly asking questions, that you're always learning, okay? Because if you're not doing any of that, then ultimately you're not going to achieve all that much, okay? If you're using this as just a fancy way of exercising, you're not going to achieve that much. So you need to commit to the process. You also have to remember that, yes, you're a team, but also don't be afraid to be competitive. So if someone's in your training session and you look at them and they're someone similar to you, try and beat them in stuff. Try and move better than that person. But it still doesn't mean that you shouldn't show up with positivity, that you shouldn't smile throughout the whole thing, and more importantly, enjoy it, okay? If you apply yourself to this, you can make some serious changes, okay? And I can guarantee you that. As far as the winner selection is concerned, now you'll see I've got my ex-client Tan. She said that we can use this. She said that I could share it with stuff for social media, etc. Anyway, and this is what she achieved over 8 weeks. And she was a woman who had literally never done anything in the gym before. She was largely sedentary. She has a husband who she literally looks after based on what she says, but you know, it's biased. I think she's got 3 kids. And just generally a busy woman. She dedicated her time over an 8-week period, okay? And over that period, she lost 2 dress sizes, about 28 pounds of weight loss. I think it was more, but from my recollection, it was 28 pounds. And then other things like bloating was massively reduced, fatigue. She was a woman that wouldn't sleep more than sort of 5 hours a night. Then she was sleeping more like 6, 7, 8 hours consistently. So her general energy was much higher. She was more mindful of what she was doing. She just had more energy as a whole. Okay, and this is what you can achieve in an 8-week period. If you are someone in the more extreme end, then you can achieve more. Okay, so it's down to what you make of it. If you commit yourself, just like I said before, and you ask the questions and you get involved and you make this a real experience and not just something that you turn up to a couple of times a week, okay, but really get involved, you can definitely make these big changes. So from the winner selection point of view, okay, so everyone over the weekend will be asked to take front, rear, and side-facing pictures. Now, if you want more information on this, you can go to the member site. There's a whole training on how to measure yourself and how to take pictures. Okay, and then these will be stored in Trainerize, so upload them into Trainerize. You'll be prompted to do this on Monday. Okay, so get them prepped, ready to go. And the winner selected based on the biggest transformation. Okay, so it's not just who lost the most weight or who lost the most inches. Okay, but they're important too. And it's not going to be us who decides. It's not anyone within the group who decides, okay? It's your family and friends who get to decide, okay? So what will happen is once the program's completed in October, what we will do is we'll have a whole page dedicated where your friends and family can go on and they can vouch for you. They can vote for you to essentially win that, okay? It's not a voucher or something crazy, okay? It's literally £1,000 cash prize. I even want to get a big check to hand it to someone, okay? It's important that you use this not only to get a big boost, okay, in getting yourself back on track and learning something new, but also it's a nice little cash incentive too, okay? So like I said, your family and your friends, they decide. It's not us who decides, okay? That would be completely unfair, okay? Because there would be a coach bias, okay, and it would be unreasonable, okay? So your family and friends are going to decide. So how this also works for you is while you're going through your process, share your victories, okay? It's hugely important. From a goal setting perspective, if you're on your journey, okay, and your family and friends don't fully understand and don't appreciate what you're going through, how are they going to be able to support you? So tell them what you're doing. And then every time you do something positive, like you lose a couple of pounds in your first week and then it continues to progress, tell them and become inspiring. Because if you inspire these people, then you're going to ultimately change other people's lives during your process too. And the best thing is because we're going to educate you on this, you're also going to be able to help them. So it's a win-win-win. Okay, so hugely important to get your family and friends involved as well. And remember that at the end, they're going to be the ones that are going to help. Okay, so get them amped up, right? Get them to help you to win that £1,000, okay, and get you to help with that transformation, okay? Your family and friends are just as important in this as you are yourself, okay? So make sure they're always being supportive throughout the whole process. Now, when it comes to team up, okay, here's some key things. Now, when it comes to booking, what I would heavily recommend right, is when it comes to the sessions themselves, just book in advance as far as physically possible. And then once you've done that, commit to the time, put it in your diary. Again, in the workbook that you get, we even have a breakdown of, you know, whatever time in the morning till whatever time at night, where you can block off hours at a time. Okay, I know that I'm going to do this. I know that I'm going to do this. You can put it into the workbook itself. Have it there and make this part of your life. Don't be constantly chopping and changing sessions. I understand people have to, but if you have a time and make this a priority to get your couple of hours a week training with us in, then you absolutely can do. Okay? And please, as a reminder, please arrive 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. If you turn up on the hour or slightly past it, unfortunately, because of the current guidance, we can't let you in. Okay? It's nothing to do with us having an issue with you. That's literal guidance, and if we go against the guidance, okay, we have a risk of being shut down, which is not ideal. Okay, so arrive 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. We'll call you in, we'll put you in your place, we'll be all good. Sweat sessions, same applies too. Now, if you need to cancel, you don't need to send messages or anything saying that you have to inform us unless there's a real issue. Okay, but just cancel, the earlier the better. Okay, that gives people an opportunity to see that slot and then potentially go into it. So if you're failing to cancel, so if you're consistently not attending, okay, and trying to book different times and always trying to chop and change and not planning ahead, one, it's poor time management, and two, it's unfair on others, okay? And then a final note on cancellations, okay? TeamUp's general system as a whole is you can rebook any times outside of a certain window, okay? But within 12 hours, you will not be able to relinquish that session, okay? So if you, for example, finish your working day early and you were booked in for 7, but you wanted to come to 6, okay, you won't be able to change that, okay? Commit to your time and then just attend, okay? And then finally, non-attendance. So on TeamUp, we have this tool where we can actually physically see, so we'll check you off as you come in as part of the COVID policy anyway, okay? And if you're regularly not attending, we are going to be on your back, okay? We're going to make sure that you're attending regularly. And if you're not attending, we're going to find out why. What's the issue? What's holding you back? What can we help with? However, if you have valid reasons, then that's absolutely acceptable, okay? People have real lives, okay? We all have real lives. You understand that sometimes things don't go to plan. That's totally fine. So in that instance, please let us know and let us try and help you out. Let us empathize if you're having some struggles with some things. However, there are some times, so think like the early, so 6 o'clock in the morning, where people might wake up at 5 and decide they don't want to come. Well, if you don't want to come, okay, that's not ideal for you. You should be committed. However, the worst case, please cancel, okay, because we're not going to be waiting for anyone. Okay, so cancel. If there's a waiting list, someone else might wake up at that time, and then they might wake up and go, oh, actually, I can't attend, okay, and they're going to be able to come, okay? And then finally, just understand with all of this, okay, there's fair use of it. So we give people as much opportunity as they can to progress on the program. Hugely important, okay? But don't be chopping and changing, okay? Commit to the times that you're going to be coming, and then just make changes as required. Now, with Trainerize, the reason why we have Trainerize in place versus just using the Facebook group is we get to cover 3 things. So we get to cover your individual nutrition. So if you haven't done it already, okay, please connect MyFitnessPal to it, okay? And all you have to do is track the things that we tell you to track, which is essentially just your calories and protein intake. Not a huge deal. And we'll teach you all that you need to know about this. There's also training in the member site on using MyFitnessPal a little bit more. And be honest, okay? So if you're telling us that you're not losing weight or you're not heading in the direction you need to, and you're only having X amount based on the calories that you have, but actually you're sneaking cake at night, okay? That's not going to help you. So be honest. If you're struggling with things, we can help you out with better habits. We can give you alternatives. So if you're struggling, that's fine, but don't hide it, okay? And then finally, just keep things simple. Don't be trying to make super lavish 3-course meals on a night time and finding recipes with like 90 different parts to it. If you're not an established and quite slick chef, okay, just keep it simple. Focus on quality nutrition, okay? So fruit and vegetables and lots of them. And protein sources based on your goals. Okay, and then with the rest of it, try and stay away from processed carbohydrates, okay? So think about the better quality stuff and just keep it super simple. Add your seasons, add your flavorings as you need. It doesn't need to be bland, but it still has to be tasty, okay? The next reason why we have Trainerize in place is to give you support, okay? So the most important thing is you need to ask for help when you need it, but not when it's too late, okay? So if you feel like there's going to be an issue, let us know and we'll correct it before the issue becomes too big. If something's already happened, okay, and you don't tell us, how are we to know, how are we to be able to guide you, okay? Because something that might be a struggle for you might be quite easy for us to give you an easy alternative answer to, okay? The outside eyes thing really helps with this, okay? It also gives you an opportunity to have regular contact with us, okay? So if you have any questions on anything just as a whole, or you want to tell us how amazing you're feeling or whatever it is, okay, just let us know. We can chat back and forth. Don't feel like it has to be constant, just one question, one answer. Okay, we'll give you the answer as we need to, but we'll chat too. And then finally, okay, within your coach, so either myself or Bonnie, all right, you will be within a coach's group, and then again, you can further interact within there and share each other's wins and celebrate the little habits and goals that you've been setting individually, and you can put them in there and you'll see them. And it just means that you've got these constant little tick-offs of little wins that make you feel good throughout the process. Okay, and then finally, from a goal-setting perspective, you need to understand that you have to be fully set up, okay? So you need to make sure that your Trainerize is all good to go. If you have a Fitbit, then connect it. If you don't, cool. Manually track your steps or whatever it is that you have to do. Okay, but make sure that you're prepared to make some positive lifestyle changes. Like I said before, you're not going to be asked to go outside and sleep in the rain. You're not going to be dragged around by your hair outside. We're not going to be shouting and screaming at you. Sometimes we might say things that you might think are counterintuitive, but we're saying things for a reason, and we'll guide you through the whole process. So just like I said before, from a support point of view, if you need help with something or you don't fully understand, ask the question and we'll help you out. And then finally, as far as all of this is concerned, okay, you get out of it what you put in. So with Trainerize, if you're not using it regularly, if you're not tracking your nutrition, if you're not asking for support, and you're not following the little goals that we set for you, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And we want you to get the best possible result out of this whole process as well. Okay, it's super important that you use it and maximize it, because the better you use it, the more you use it, the slicker it is. It'll become part of your life, and it's a really good tool to use. So that's Trainerize. Oh. Okay, finally, I do have to apologize in advance. Now, the work that we were going to be doing on Claregate, okay, because of unforeseen circumstances, this was actually supposed to be done by end of May. Contractors had to obviously stop. They didn't know when things were going to restart. We only managed to restart stuff last week. So with that in mind, there will be occasions where we will have to train outdoors, even if we're doing the small group PT stuff. Sometimes we'll have to use different toilets versus the ones that we have, which are going to be finished hopefully Monday night. Okay, the nice new toilets, okay? So we'll have these little changes where we kind of just have to go with the flow, okay? Don't use it as a reason to not attend or whatever. If you have genuine concerns, please let us know, but we'll accommodate everything the best that we can. Sessions won't get cancelled. We might just change things up slightly, okay? Roll with the whole process, go with the flow, and just embrace it, okay? The main focus is that you're consistently showing up, that aside from consistently showing up, you're having fun, that you're enjoying the process, that you're learning from the whole thing, and that you ultimately achieve an amazing result. Now, what we will do is we'll go through any questions. So I'll start with the ones that are in the chat. Cool. All right. So I'll go through. So Purdy. So 3 sessions. Yeah. So 3 sessions a week, small group PT, and unlimited for sweat. Okay. That's for those who run the 8-week program. Okay. That was part of their sort of added bonus. For everyone else, is 3 a week. If you have any further concerns with that, by all means, let me know. Sophie said, when I asked about classes, you said it started with 3 times a week, small group PT. When should we introduce sweat? Honestly, when you're comfortable. Now, if you haven't done much exercise beforehand and you want to just focus on the basics, 3 a week is plenty. When you start getting more experience, or you want to have a little bit else in there, or you just fancy coming more, then by all means introduce them and get involved. That's absolutely fine. The worst thing you could do is from week 1, do 7 sessions or something crazy in the week, and then just burn out and then get really hurt and just get unnecessarily sore. Okay, so start slow and steady, go with 3 times a week, see how you get on. Okay, then as you progress, if you want to add in another, then you can do. Or if you want to stick with the 3, you could do, for example, 2 sweats and then 1 small group 1 week, and then you could do the reverse the other week. How you choose to book it is totally up to you. Leah asked, will there be a specific daily calorie goal we should stick to? Yeah, so you'll be assigned that in Trainerize. Okay, that'll be based on your consultation form that's on there, and we'll start at a certain point. If we need to add calories based on your needs, then we will do. If progress isn't heading in the right direction, then we'll remove them. But like I said before, the only things that we're really going to be tracking is total caloric intake, okay, so the amount of food that you're actually eating, and making sure that you're having enough protein in the day. If you want to find out more about protein, again, member sites where you need to head, and there's a whole training on what the benefits are of protein, etc. Okay, cool, and that is it on that one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing that, and we are here, but I'm going to keep recording. So if anyone has any questions at this point, okay, and you want to talk about something, absolutely, please feel free to ask. Sheena asked, said, so we need gloves. Do we need 2 pairs of training shoes? I remember you said something about indoor and outdoor ones. Yeah, so I've been reminding everyone this week to grab a set of gloves. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or crazy expensive. Just a set of gloves for when you're doing a sweat. Okay, if you're never going to attend a sweat session, that's absolutely fine. You don't need gloves. Yeah, so the mention about the training shoes, so you won't need 2 pairs yet, but potentially in the future we might do. That was based off of government guidelines, but I don't think it's going to be heading in that direction, to be fair. But just be aware, you might have to have like a random shoe to go from your car to the entrance to go inside, and then have a different pair of trainers that you can swap into. That's all that is, all right? It's not a case of 2 different types of trainers or anything. It's just your indoor shoes and your outdoors. Leah, sorry if this is on the member side, but will we need to weigh out food? You don't need to weigh out food necessarily. You can go by portions. When you're on MyFitnessPal, again, there's training on using MyFitnessPal in the member site. And if you want further help with it, then again, get in touch and we'll help you out. You don't need to be weighing. You just need to be going with a rough guideline. So for example, let's say you have a banana. You don't need to weigh the banana, okay? But you can go on there and you can be like, oh, that's a medium banana, tick. Okay, if you have a chicken breast, you could be like, is that a small one, a medium one, or a large one? I'm using these as poor examples, but you get what I'm saying. So you go by the feel, okay? Then if you want to get more finicky with stuff and get into the sort of nitty gritty, then yeah, you can start weighing things, but generally it's not that essential at the start. And the more you apply sort of thought and logic to the actual process itself, the more it's going to help you though. So it's 50-50. If you want to start weighing stuff, you can do, if that's how you prefer to work. But if you want to kind of go off feel, then you can do as well. And then if we need to make changes to the stuff, you know that actually that portion size was a bit too big, we can reduce that down a little bit and then go a bit smaller and work that way, okay? So we can go flexible either way. Any other questions? Type away. In fact, oh, this is going to be havoc. Okay, I'm going to unmute everyone now. So if you have a question, please feel free to shout out and we'll talk through it. If no one has any questions, I'll give people 2 minutes to type out what you need to type out and we'll call it quits. And I hope everyone's excited. I think we're all good. Super silent.
Hi, Bobby. It's Suki. Just a quick question. No, the calorie. The calorie intakes. On the call earlier, you were talking about each of them knowing how many calories they should have each day, and it was going to be on Trainerize. I don't know what I'm looking at to know what it should be.
So it should be on Trainerize.
Okay.
But if not, then we're going to be going through all the tiny little issues to make sure everyone's all corrected and have a little chat with you prior to start on anyway. We'll just be like messaging, go through each person individually, make sure you're all set up good to go, okay?
Cool, lovely. Thank you very much.
But if for some reason there is a further issue with stuff, by all means get in touch. If there's something not working on your end, we can do things manually as well, okay? So by all means, just let us know. If you have questions on something, don't feel like you can't approach us, okay? That's what we're here for, is help.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no worries. Sophie asked, do calories remain the same on days you do workout? I know MyFitnessPal adds extra calories if you track exercise. So don't track exercise, okay? There's no need to track your exercise. Don't put it on there. The only thing you need to track is your food. The reason why is if you have different calories for one day and different calories on the other, it's really difficult to work out which one's which. And for a lot of people, then you're not going to be used to doing things like carb cycling or sort of become too in depth. And we need to keep things simple, okay? It's basics done well. So the calories should stay the same. Don't track any exercise on MyFitnessPal, okay? Because the biggest guide for you is going to be the one where everything's consistent. Then we can make changes from there, okay? Any other questions? Oh, it's awkwardly silent.
I think I'm just excited to start.
You're excited to start, yeah. I hope everyone is. I hope no one's nervous. If anyone's nervous, you shouldn't be, okay? It's not that sort of thing. All right, everyone's just ready to go and just prepare to have a laugh, all right? We will have a laugh. Don't get us wrong, we'll work hard, okay? That's part of the process, okay? But education, having fun, all right? If you can nail those two whilst achieving a result, you've cracked the code, okay? So, oh, Brenda, it's super late. Any other questions on anything whatsoever? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up and you can enjoy the rest of your night. No?
Nope.
I think we're all good.
Nope.
All right, perfect. So if you do have questions, feel free to drop them privately and we'll chat through some stuff, okay? But otherwise, I hope you have a lovely night and look forward to meeting some of you next week. All right?
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you all next
Bye.
week.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.